To begin with a bit of housekeeping, all participants on this webinar are currently muted, so we encourage you to submit your questions in the question and answer box. We will be sharing a recording of this presentation as well as the presentation slides. There is no certificate for this webinar as it is a Q&A session. We are beginning with pre-submitted questions. The presenters that I've just introduced to you are moderating the question and answer box live. And on conclusion of this webinar, the presentation will be emailed to you. So let's begin. Scopas is the world's largest abstract and citation database of peer-reviewed literature. Abstract and citation means not full text. Scopus is used as an analytical partner in research. It is a paid product, and to find out if your university has access to Scopus, please contact your librarian or research administrator. There is a version of Scopus that can be accessed freely. It is called Scopus Preview. And once you receive this presentation, you can click on the hyperlink, which will take you to a description of what you can see on the free version of Scopus. For librarians and administrators that have joined us today, if you are having struggles trying to activate your university for remote access to Scopus, please click on this link and you will receive all the instructions to guide you through the process. We know that working remotely can be quite challenging. So should you have any questions or queries, please do reach out to our customer support team. If you'd like to live chat with an agent, you can click here. Or if you'd like to email your query through, please click here. You'll also find these support options at the bottom of your Scopus page. We're also sharing some useful tutorials and videos to guide you through your Scopus journey. You can use these tutorials to work at your own pace, to identify how to construct searches, how to analyze searches. All of the information can be found on these hyperlinks. We recently did an introduction to Scopus and Mendeley training, and this question and answer session is a follow-up from that training. If you did not get a chance to watch that training session, the link to the recording is here. We received a lot of questions on publishing for this webinar. To address these questions, the best place to start would be the Researcher Academy. We will also be hosting webinars specifically covering publishing in the upcoming weeks, and I will share details of this with you later in my presentation. The Researcher Academy is a free resource containing e-learning modules developed by global experts. The website to access it is displayed on your screen now. It's www.researcheracademy.com. If you have an existing Elsevier account, that would be an account to access Scopus, Science Direct, SciVal, etc., you can log on to the Researcher Academy using those credentials. If you don't have an account, you will be prompted to create an account. Once you have access to the Researcher Academy, you will be able to access modules about the research process, about publishing, career guidance, advice, as well as news on our research blog. So why the Researcher Academy? Because you can master essential skills, learn from the best. You can access high quality content developed by leading research experts. And most importantly, you can maximize your impact. Learn how to make your research stand out and garner those all-important citations. So whether you're interested in writing a journal article or book, learning how to conduct peer review for a high-impact journal, understanding research and publishing ethics, or preparing a successful grant application, the Researcher Academy has resources which can assist. We know that dedicated training takes time and effort, and we believe successful researchers should be recognized for this. For each interactive training module or online seminar that you complete, Your work will be recognized with an awarded certificate from Elsevier. I spoke a bit about these upcoming webinars. The details are now displayed on your screen. Tomorrow, we will be having a webinar on demystifying academic impact metrics, which is leading on to a lot of the questions that we've received today on Scopus. This webinar will cover in detail different metrics, such as the H-index, site score, impact factor, field-weighted citation impact. And to register for these webinars, please click on the links in this presentation. We're also hosting a webinar on the 4th of June to avoid predatory journal publishing using Scopus and SciVal, as well as 2 publishing webinars on the article publishing process, as well as the book publishing process, and we encourage you to attend. So let me start with the first question of today. What does Scopus cover? And second, is it multidisciplinary? Displayed on your screen now is the Scopus coverage summary. We have more than 24,000 journals indexed on Scopus. 5,527 journals are gold open access journals. These journals are covering the subject areas of physical science, health science, social science, and life sciences. We have more than 119,000 conferences, 221,000 standalone books, and 44 million patents. This is originating from more than 5,000 publishers and 105 countries in 40 different languages. Why can't I find certain journals on Scopus? Content Selection and Advisory Board is an independent board of subject experts from all over the world, comprising of 17 subject chairs. To put this into perspective, this question into perspective, there are about 104,000 journals, of which 47,519 are peer-reviewed journals. And Scopus, through its selection criteria, indexes 24,600 journals. A lot of the time we are asked, what is the selection criteria for journals indexed on Scopus? All titles should meet all technical criteria in order to be considered for Scopus review. Journals must be peer-reviewed, must contain English abstracts, must have a regular publication schedule, must have Roman script references, and a publication and ethics statement. Further to this, eligible titles are reviewed by the Content Selection and Advisory Board according to 14 selection criteria, falling broadly into these headings: journal policy, quality of content, journal standing, regularity, and online availability. Maintaining high quality. Scopus has a rigorous re-evaluation process and criteria. To put this into perspective, every year we receive about 3,500 title suggestions. 39% of those meet the Scopus minimum criteria, and 46% are accepted after the Content Selection and Advisory Board's review. How does Scopus maintain that its journal list contains credible journals? Scopus puts its journals through a rigorous re-evaluation process and utilizes an algorithm called radar. Scopus identifies outlier journals for re-evaluation by running the data analytics tool radar on an annual basis. This tool identifies journals demonstrating outlier behaviors, such as sudden and exponential article growth, unexplainable and sudden changes to affiliation country, or high journal self-citation rates, amongst others. All journals identified by the radar tool will be re-evaluated by the Content Selection and Advisory Board in the year of identification. The content selection and advisory board review is based on the Scopus title selection criteria and may result in discontinuation of the journal's forward flow from Scopus. And with that, I'd like to introduce the agenda for today. Next up, we have Dr. Yahya Issa, as well as Lucius Kumbi, followed by Nadine Iskander. We received many requests for a short demonstration of the practical use of Scopus. Dr. Yahya Issa is going to take us through this demonstration. This will be followed by Lucius Kumbi, who is going to answer more of the complex Q&A that we've received, and Nadine Iskander, who will address the French questions received.
Thank you. Thank you, Nashri.
Most welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Yahya Issa, consultant within the Research Intelligence Department of Elsevier. And Danishri, if you may please give me access to switch on my video camera, my webcam, because I'm not able.
No problem. I'll do that right now.
If it's possible.
Just a second for me.
Okay.
It's allowing you. Yeah, it is allowed.
Okay, that's no problem. So let me start. So I'll be giving a quick demo on Scopus. It will be really short, for 15 or 20 minutes, because this webinar is a follow-up to a previous webinar which was on Scopus. So I'll cover really quickly 4 use cases on Scopus. The first one being how to perform a basic search for documents on Scopus using specific keywords, and how to analyze these search results to be able to retrieve the meaningful resources you want to look at as a researcher. The second use case will be on viewing the article and what are the article level metrics which are available on Scopus. Followed by that, we'll have a look on how to read the profile of the journal and how to retrieve the full journal list, which is available on Scopus. And finally, we'll have a quick look on the author profiles, how to search for authors, and what metrics are available when you are looking at the profile of an author. As Danishri said, in fact, tomorrow we will be having a webinar which is specifically on metrics. So, and during that webinar, we'll be going into more details on the definitions of such metrics. Okay.
Yeah, you can start your video now. I think it should be okay.
Yep, I did. Thank you. Okay, so if we start with the basic use case of how to search for a document. So basically, when you open your Scopus account, this is the homepage which you'll be seeing, which is what you can see on your screens right now. And by default, it will be open on how to perform a document search. So if, for example, here, you write what types of key phrases you are looking for in your document. So in my case, I'll look for something about maybe solar resource modeling. And then you can choose where do you want the search to be looking, the search engine to be looking for these keywords. By default, you'll be searching within the article title, abstract, and keywords, but also maybe you want the keywords to be only present in the article title, for example, only in the keywords, and so on. So in fact, you can go a step further, but by default, when you are searching for several key phrases, you'll be looking within the article title, abstract, and keywords. And Scopus does, of course, operate with the Boolean operators if you want to have very specific refined search results. And if you click here on search tips, you can know which Boolean operators are available on Scopus. Of course, the and, the or, all those are available. And if you are searching for very exact phrases, you can, of course, do that using the curly brackets, or for fuzzy phrases, for example, using the quotation marks. So all these tips and tricks are available if you want to go into further details. But if we just take the basic use case where I'm just inputting several key phrases and searching for which documents are available. So in this case, we are having 3,400 documents which are containing the keywords or the key phrases which we defined in the search box. And of course, here you have the full list. But of course, 3,400 documents may be a lot for anyone to read. So you always want to refine your search results. How you can do that? You can do that by several ways. For example, you can choose you prefer to only read the open access articles, for example. So in this case, you'll be clicking here on open access and limit to. In this case, we are only limiting our results to articles which I'm sure I have access to since we clicked on the open access filter. Of course, you also have the years. Maybe you only want to read what's been published in the past 2-3 years on this topic. You don't want to go way back. So in this case, you just click on the years you want limit to. So these are some tips on how to refine your results. Make sure that you are getting, for example, in our case, papers that you can open since they're open access, papers which are recent. So in this case, we're looking at 2018, 2019, 2020. And there are several other filters which you can filter by. For example, the subject area, the document type, the publication type, which journal it was published in, and so on. And if you click on Analyze Search Results, you can also have a better idea about who are the most authors publishing within the data set or within the sample size which we have now in the search results. So here, for example, we have the documents by author, documents by affiliation, documents by source, which journals are publishing more within our sample size, documents by country, documents by type. So all these could give you more, some insights about, for example, who are the experts, maybe people I want to follow, people I would like to collaborate with within the document search which I'm interested in. Of course, with the sources list, you can find out if I publish within this topic, within the scope, which journals should I publish in? And this could give you an insight on which journals are relevant to your topic. Of course, by affiliation, to also be very useful if, for example, you want to apply, if you're still a graduate student, you want to apply for a PhD or a postdoc position or something, it'll give you a very good idea about which universities have research groups which are working on this topic. So this could give you a short list about potential institutes you can apply to. So the idea is there's a lot of insights which could be useful for you as a researcher using the search results rather other than only which documents are available, but also if I want to collaborate, who can I collaborate with? If I want to apply for a position, where can I apply to? If I want to publish my work, where should I publish it in? So this is a really quick demo on how to do a basic search for documents on Scopus. If you want to go to how to refine your search results, and if you want to be very accurate in the documents being retrieved, what are some of the Boolean operators which are available on Scopus, and the guide on how to use them is right there. Now, if I want to open an article, for example, and check the profile of the article on Scopus, so maybe I can just now sort it by the highest. And now my search results will be showing me the documents from the highest cited up to the lowest cited. Okay. So if I, for example, open the first document, so the first document in our sample set was published in 2018. It has received 81 citations up to date on Scopus, so 81 citations from other documents available in Scopus. And of course, since we already applied the filter of the open access documents, articles, so in this case, it's an open access article. And if you want the full text of the article, you can just click on the full text, and now it will redirect you on where the full text of that article is for you to download as a PDF if you wish to do so. Now, if we go back here, so as I said, we know how many citations it received in Scopus since it was published. What's the field-weighted citation impact of this article? So the field-weighted citation impact is a metric which is comparing the citations received by this article to the citations received by similar articles. By similar articles, we mean articles published in the same year, articles published in the same subject area, and articles of the same type. So in that case, 1 is our average. Anything above 1 means that in average, this article is receiving citations more than would be expected. And if it's under 1 or less than 1, then this article is receiving citations less than would be expected. So in this case, it's our field-weighted citation impact is 24. So in fact, it means that this article is receiving citations 23 times more than would be expected. So those two are article level metrics. We have several other metrics, for example, like the Plumex metrics, which can tell us as well media mentions about this article, how many times it was shared on Facebook, on Twitter, and so on. But like I said, let's keep this for the webinar of tomorrow on demystifying the metrics. Here you can also find out who's citing this article. So maybe if you are the authors, if you are one of the authors of this article and you are following your research, you can know exactly who's making use of your work, how are they using it, and this could maybe help you plan for your future works, because you know what people are interested in from your publications and what they're not interested in. And of course, we can also find out which documents are related to this one, if we want to know so, and we also know which documents did this article cite. So we have all the references of this article. So all these may be useful both for the authors of this article or for any reader who wants to read this article. They can find out how many citations this article has received, what's the field-weighted citation impact of this article, where to locate the full text, and who is citing this document. Of course, you have the author list and the affiliations of each of those authors also available here if you wish to go into further details. And this could also be very useful if, for example, if you are the researcher and you like the topic or this article so much, and maybe you are looking for someone to collaborate with on this topic, or someone where you can apply for a job or a position. So maybe you can start with the authors of the paper which you like to try and approach them and see if they have opportunities for you or not. So this was a quick overview now on the profile of an article, a quick overview on the citations and the field-weighted citation impact metrics for the articles. Now, if I want to look at the journal level metrics. So in this case, if I continue with my example, so this article was published in the Journal of Renewable and Sustainable Energy Reviews. So if I just simply click on that, now we can go to the profile of the journal on Scopus. And of course, here we have the title of the journal, the Scopus coverage years. So this journal was indexed in Scopus in 1997, and it is still indexed in Scopus up to date until present. Who the publisher is of this journal and which subject areas does this journal publish in. And you have several journal level metrics, we call them. So you have the cite score, which is basically a measure for the citations received in year X to the number of documents received to the previous 3 years to that year. So for example, currently, if we are talking about the cite score for 2018, we'll see how many citations were received in the year 2018 to the number of documents published in this journal during the 3 years prior to 2018. So in this case, they would be 2015, 2016, and 2017. So this is a metric which is giving us an idea about the average number of citations for the documents of this journal over the past 3 years. But we should always use this metric very carefully, because it will be different for different subject areas or for different fields, because we know that the citation behavior is different for different subject areas. So in order to overcome that, we have the cite score rank, which will tell us, okay, this cite score, where does it stand within all journals, including the same subject area of renewable energy, sustainability, and environment. In this case, it's the rank puts it in the 95th percentile or the top 5% or the top 5% of quality journal within its subject area. And we have the SJR, which is another journal level metric, which is a metric measuring the prestigiousness of the citations received, meaning that not all citations are equal. When we receive citations from high quality journals, it increases the quality of our work and vice versa. In this case, the benchmark is 1. Anything above 1 is above the world average. Anything under than 1 is below the world average. And then we have the SNP, the source normalized impact per paper, which is a metric measuring comparing the citations received by our documents versus citations received by documents in similar subject areas. In this case, also 1 is our benchmark. Anything above 1 is above the world average. Anything less than 1 is below the world average. So this is just a really quick overview on how to read the profile of the journal. Of course, you will have the journal homepage, which will redirect you to the homepage of that journal. If you want to submit an article to it, the guide for authors, submit your article. Of course, all this data will be available, should be available in the homepages of all journals. In this case, we took the journal from the article we were looking at, but what if I want to know what are all the journals available in Scopus? In this case, if I just click on the sources tab right here, I'll have the full list of journals which are available in Scopus, both active and inactive. So it's really important that when I choose my journal to make sure that it's still actively indexed in Scopus, because if it's not indexed in Scopus anymore, then any future publications in the journal will not be included in Scopus. Of course, here as well, you have many different filters you can work with. If you have, for example, you have the title of a journal, you want to make sure it's available in Scopus, so you can just start by writing the title of the journal and see if it's available in Scopus or not. So if we just use our same example, we find that, of course, Journal of Renewable and Sustainable Energy is right there. Or I think that was reviews, so both of them are there. Okay, and if, for example, you want to find out, maybe you do not have a specific journal in mind, but you want to know which journals are available in Scopus within a specific subject area, so you can do that as well. So in this case, instead of using the title, you can just use the subject area filter and just start typing what's the subject area you want to look at. So if we continue with our example of renewable energy, apply. So now it will give me the full list of journals, active and inactive, which include this subject area. So this is now, we went from 40,000 journals to around 200 results right now. And there are other filters you can apply to for these search results. If, for example, you only want to target Q1 or Q2 journals, so you can just click on these filters, the first quartile, second quartile, apply. So now you will only be having the Q1 and Q2 journals, and then you can start and looking at this list and deciding which journal you want to read, which journal you want to publish in, and so on. So now we've done the 3 use cases of a basic search for an article, for a document, article level metrics, journal level metrics, and how to retrieve the full list of journals on Scopus. Now, really quickly, I just want to go through about how to search for the profile of an author. You can do it a couple of ways. So in fact, if you are looking at a document, you can just simply click on the name of any author on that document to see their profile. So for example, if you go back to our same document which we were looking at, if you click on the author profile, then you will have the profile of that author, including what's their most recent affiliation. You can also view what are their past affiliations, what name formats are they publishing with, which subject areas are they working on, how many documents have they published which are indexed in journals which are indexed in Scopus, how many citations have all their documents received, what's their H index, and here you can view the trends about both the citations in red year on year and the documents in blue year on year as well. Of course, here you have the full list of documents they have published. You also have the full list of documents which have cited them as well. So this could be very useful for an author, as I mentioned earlier. Who's citing me? How are they making use of my work? This could help me plan my research, my research strategy, or the research topics I want to work on. We can also view who the co-authors are to this with this author. So this could be useful for both the researcher or others who wanting to view the profile. For me, as a researcher, I want to know who I worked with and what's the impact of the publications when I collaborated with another author. And we can also view which topics is this author working on, how many documents have they published in each topic, what's the field-weighted citation impact of the documents published in this topic, and what's the prominence percentile of that topic. The prominence percentile is a metric which is showing us how much trending is this topic, is the world interested in this topic at the moment or not. So of course, the higher the number, the higher the momentum of the topic. If we say that a topic is in the 99th percentile or has a prominence in the 99th percentile, it means it's in the top 1% of hot topics worldwide. So this could, for researchers, could help them choose which topics to work on. Of course, as researchers, we prefer to work on topics which are trending because it will give us better visibility for our work. The world is interested in this topic, therefore we know that we have a higher possibility that people will be reading our research, therefore maybe a higher possibility that people will be citing our research as well, which will impact me positively as a researcher, because at the end of the day, we as researchers are judged about how many publications we are publishing, the quality of those publications, which journals are we publishing in, and what's the impact of our papers measured by what numbers of citations is our documents or are our documents receiving. So this could help researchers make plans about which topics to work on in the future and which to avoid. Of course, you can always follow authors, you can set citations alerts, set document alerts, and so on, if you want to stay up to date, whether on your profile or the profile of any other author. And you can also set these alerts on the search level or the journal level as well, if you want to stay up to date on what's happening with these search results or within a specific journal. So this is a really quick overview about the 4 cases: basic search of documents, article, how to view the profile of an article and some metrics associated with it, how to view the profile of a journal and the metrics associated with it, and how to preview the profile of an author on Scopus and some of the metrics which are associated with it. So thank you very much. I believe I'm on time within my 20 minutes. So
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yahya. But there is one question, if before you stop sharing, sorry,
Sure.
just demonstrate how to, the source list, if you can demonstrate finding open access journals. It's a
Sure.
question from Dr. Abdul from Al Mosul College of Environmental Science.
Sure. So if you click on sources, again, if we go back on the sources tab, you do have here the display only open access journals. So you can just simply apply this filter to view the full open access journals available on Scopus. And then you can still apply the same filters we've applied before, as in I'm looking for open access journals within the subject area of, for example, material sciences, let's say. So in this case, we have the full list of open access journals within the subject area which we specified. So I hope this answers the question.
Perfectly. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to launch.
Any other questions before I stop sharing?
Not right now. Lucia will be answering the next question we received in her session next. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to launch a quick poll to ask the audience what they'd like us to focus on in our next webinar before Lucia starts presenting. So the poll is on your screen right now. We have done one webinar so far on an introduction to Scopus. We are currently doing a Q&A webinar. And Yahya has just provided an overview of the different areas of Scopus and what you can use it for. So we just want to get a sense of what you're looking for in terms of training from Scopus. I encourage you to vote on the poll. We'll give it a minute. Okay, thank you. Thanks. I'm going to end the poll. And it looks like people want more examples of using Scopus practically. Okay, we're going to take your feedback into consideration when preparing our next webinar. Thank you so much for voting. With that, I'm going to hand over to Lucia.
Okay, thank you, Daneshri. I'm going to share my screen. Let me just get my screen open. Okay, can you see my screen? I think it's
yes, we can see Scopus on your browser.
Right, is it the right one still? I just changed my screens now. You can see Scopus?
It's a web page saying Sport Management Review.
Okay, sorry, can I just pause my, I'm going to stop my share. I want to share again.
Okay. Right, it's Scopus.
Right. Okay, thank you, everyone. And thank you for the very good questions that you sent us when you registered. So I'm going to focus on a few of them, and then we'll come back to some of the questions that you are asking live. So very nice questions, actually 4 of them from a librarian, assistant librarian in Ghana. She's also asking about how do you find the high impact journals in which to publish that are free. So by free, I understand that you mean open access, and that was just demonstrated now by my colleague Yehia. So I'm not going to go through that again. But if you want us to go through it again, just indicate in the Q&A and I'll just focus on that again. The next question you asked is, what is the fixed period before an article will be accepted and published? So this is not, there is no fixed period to do that, and information is often provided on the journal's webpage. So I'll just share with you. I'm going to show you on my screen. So you need to go to the journal webpage. So when you've submitted a manuscript for publication, you can usually follow the process, so you can follow your submission and see how it is processing. But many of the good journals would also indicate to you on the website, what a timeline there is. So this is one of the Elsevier journals, and if you go into this, where it indicates the speed, it will give you an overview of what is the average speed that it will take. So this is different for every single journal, but here you can see in 2015, when you submitted a manuscript, the first decision would take 9.7 weeks, and for the final decision, 13.4 weeks, right? So on a good journal, they would give you this information upfront on the journal webpage. So please look out for that. And most journals also, when you submit for publication, it will give you an option to follow and keep track of your submission. So I hope that one answers your question. Let me just go back to my Scoopus screen again. The next question that you were asking was, what is the standard research process that you have to follow to make your paper easily published in Scopus, and the details of the process, right? So the publication really takes place at the publisher and Scopus indexes the journals. Sorry. So I would really advise to follow some of the tutorials that are provided, sorry, some of the tutorials that are provided on Research Academy that was shown earlier on in this session. So on Research Academy, information is provided to guide you through what is the best way to prepare your manuscript, that it is in a good structure, and that it will be easy for the journal to accept that. So and on the Elsevier Journal website, you can also look at the specific journals and see what the requirements and what the advice is that they provide there specifically for the journals. So mostly journals are rejected because they are not in scope. So before submitting your journal for publication, it's very important to look at the aims and scope. We are going to do author workshops very soon, so I'm not going to go into deeper information about this, but so please join us for the author workshops, because then we talk very specifically about how to prepare your manuscript. The same for your next question. Thank you for that, but we'll address it in the author workshop. So what is the process the editorial board will follow when they to make a paper accepted or rejected? So that whole process is also will be discussed in those author workshops, and information, good tutorials are provided on Researcher Academy about that. Right, so the next question we received was, it was a search, it was a topic, conceptualizing theory in relation to online Google Classroom blended learning. So I'll use this opportunity to just also do a very quick search. So what you would start with usually is it's important to break up your research question into different concepts, and for each concept you identify synonyms so that you can broaden your search, and then you would use the Boolean operators to make your search as comprehensive as possible, or representative as possible using the keywords, and then you use the filters in Scopus that we provide to narrow that down. So I'm not going to do the full search, but I'll give you a starting point maybe. So you would be, it's about conceptualizing theory in relation to online Google Classroom blended learning. So how you could start is you're using phrases here. So Google Classroom would be one of your phrases. Two ways to identify for Scopus that it's a phrase is to put it in inverted commas. So you would have Google Classroom. That's a phrase. You could also use it as a fixed phrase, because in inverted commas, it is a loose phrase. So the search engine can also turn around the specific terms that you are using now. So it would also look for it in reverse order. But if you use a fixed phrase, you can use these curly brackets, and you're indicating to the search engine now that you want to look for this phrase in the very exact manner that you are identifying it here. So there's your first term that you are looking for. Then you can select in which field you want the search engine to look for it. So if you want to be very specific, that you're expecting to find Google Classroom in the title of the article or the publication, you can select article title. The default, of course, is that the search engine will look in the article title, abstract, and the keywords. Right. So Google Classroom, you want to see that in terms of blended learning, and that would be your next concept. So here again, you can use this as a phrase because you're not, if you're going to use learning only, it's going to be too wide. So you can use blended learning. Identify that you are looking for this in a phrase. I'm not sure if there are any synonyms. I'm not an expert in this field, but you would know what the relevant search terms would be that you would use in this case. So once again, you can either use the loose phrase, the loose phrase, or you could use the fixed phrase way of looking at. Very important, it was showed earlier, but you can use the search tips to make sure that you're really combining your key phrases in the most optimal way. So here are many examples that are provided. Okay, exact phrase as I've showed you, exact, etc. Okay, so use this. It is a very, it will be very, make your search much more efficient, right? So this is basically your starting point. I'm not going to go further than this because I think this could get you started using your key, making sure that you have identified your most important concepts, add synonyms to them, add them together using the Boolean operators, which you can select here. Remember that when you are using and, you are narrowing your search. When you are using or, you are widening your search. And then you go on to your search and use the refinement that we've showed earlier. So I hope that will get you started. So the next question we received was, how do I extract the list of citations from my main library to a created folder? I'm not sure if this is a Scopus question. I have an idea that this might be a Mendeley question, but I can go into Mendeley and very quickly answer this question. So this is in Mendeley, right? So in Mendeley you can add a folder. So this is your main library within Mendeley. You can create a folder in Mendeley if you already have folders like I have here. So you can have all your documents, and then you would select the specific documents, and then you can just drag them into your folders. So where's my folders, right? I hope you can see clearly on the screen, but when you are dragging over your citations into a folder in Mendeley, just make sure that it shows a double line, because that means that it selected that folder accurately, and you just drop your documents in there. So I hope that was a Mendeley question, and that's answered then. So another question we received was, how can I receive requests to be a reviewer for articles of Scopus journals, right? So we are going to do author workshops, and we are going to talk about, usually during the author workshops, we also talk about the importance of peer reviewing, because as a researcher, to also make yourself available for peer review is really very beneficial for your research career. However, the main way to do that would be in terms of publishing in the journals that you wish to peer review for. So that's one way, so that the editorial board gets to know you, they start trusting you, and they will invite you to be one of the reviewers. Another way would be to directly contact the editor. So this is not something that can be done via Scopus. This is something that would be done directly via the journals. Let me see another question. How to publish my unpublished research works from the past for peer review, right? So this is very important. You can use Scopus to identify relevant journals in which to publish, because all the journals that are listed in Scopus under sources, the 24,500 journals that we index are all peer reviewed. So making a selection using your topic to do a search. So let's see if I can just maybe run this and see what the results are. And then for any topical search that you do, you will find that there are relevant journals that will come up, and you can use these journals as a starting point to see to identify which would be the relevant journals for you to send your manuscripts to. So this is one way. There's another way you can analyze search results. This is a very small document set. So just to identify relevant journals in your field, do a search on your topic, and you go to analyze search result, and under documents by sources, you will find all the relevant journals that are publishing within that field. So if you really want to do further analysis, because this is a small document set, so it doesn't have a lot of articles, but you would usually be able to use this to see what is the volume of documents that they're published in that specific journal. But if you want to look more at the quality of the journal, you can use the compare sources and view site score and the other journal metrics that we have. So based on these journal metrics, you would also be able to see which are the best journals in the field based on the number of, or the average number of citations that they receive, which is reflected in the site score.